Okay, I'm going to be using Kali Linux for this tutorial just because I had the virtual machine and it will serve for this course. Okay, root as a default username and backwards TOOR. This is what we're going to use. This is a terminal emulator which you can get from system. This is a version of the terminal emulator. That is one as well, and that is one as well. Most Linux distributions will have these. So I can either go to applications, terminal emulator there, or one of those three, or the shortcut there. Okay. So let me just explain quickly. Just a short intro. This is an introduction course to the typical Unix Linux shell command basics meant for beginners and therefore does not go into advanced details. If you would like an advanced course on this, please let me know. A Unix shell is a command line interpreter or shell that provides a command line user interface for Unix-like operating systems. This is the Unix shell. The shell is both an interactive command language and a scripting language and is used by the operating system to control the execution of the system using shell scripts. Shell is a Unix term for the interactive user interface with an operating system. The shell is the layer of programming that understands and executes the commands the user enters. In some systems, the shell is called a command interpreter. Windows version of a shell is the command prompt. In computing, a shell is a user interface for access to an operating system services in general. Operating system shells use either a command line interface CLI or graphical user interface GUI, depending on a computer's role in particular operation. Let me explain quickly about directories and folders, especially as it relates to Linux or Unix. The term directory refers to the way a structured list of document files and folders is stored on a computer. Directory is a file system concept, but usually most people see directory and folder as the same thing. The Windows folder on a C drive of Windows is the same thing as C:\Windows in MS-DOS. However, when referring to a command line interface such as MS-DOS or Linux, it's more correct to say directory instead of folder. But in my course, whenever I say directory, I will usually refer to the root directory. And a root directory is this one. So if I change to the root directory, just ignore this root here, it's just a user. If I change, let's quickly see list. Use this. Okay, this is just a user, that root. That could have been my name, Jerome, but there's no custom user setup on this Linux yet. So that's default user root. So the root directory is that one. So this user called root is inside the root directory, which is that one. So cd change to the root directory, and now I'm in the root directory. So I can't go further down. This is the furthest you can go. This is now the root directory. PWD stands for present working directory. The root directory is the same as the first level of available data storage on any physical storage device, i.e. you're not inside a folder. So generally speaking, if you're not inside a folder, you must be in a root directory. From within the root directory of any storage device, you can store files, create one or more folders, store files within those folders, create folders within folders, etc., etc. So I will refer to actual folders as folders, maybe sometimes as subdirectories, but not as directories. Example, I will refer to /etc as the etc folder or subdirectory in a root directory. So if we go here, that etc is a folder. All these ones in dark blue are folders. These are files. So etc folder or subdirectory. etc, change directory to etc. So I will not refer to this etc as a directory. I will refer to it at most as a subdirectory, but usually I will refer to it as a folder. Okay, commands. Whenever you're not sure about a specific command's usage, apart from Googling for more information, you can type the command and then add the help extension like this. So if I did not know what cd is used for, I would do that and change the shell working directory. So I typed cd space dash dash help in there, change this shell working directory. This is the shell, and change the working directory. So if I'm currently present working directory is etc. If I want to change the working directory to, let's say, GDM3, which is a folder, GDM3, now the working directory is GDM3. Okay, so let's take ls and help. So ls, which is the equivalent of dir in Windows. Dir also works here in Linux, but standard is ls. Most commands, when you do this help extension, they give you obviously the description, and then they give you options or arguments and options. These are the options or arguments that you can use with this ls command. So I will, just for this one, this example, I will use this one, A. Do not ignore entry starting with dot. Let's do this quick. That's ls and then ls A. As you can see, dots. For me, it usually works to display hidden files as well. Unless I'm thinking about... Okay, yeah. For me it works when I want to display hidden files. Yeah. Also on the keyboard, with your up and down arrows, you can cycle back to previous commands that you've used. Clear clears that screen. You can't go back up to... It's actually cleared the history of what we just did. Okay, so we've mostly covered the pwd command, which is the present working directory, help. Two options for this one, so print a value of if that names the current working directory, any symbolic links. Let's use this one. So capital P. Okay, but yes, always very useful. A lot of the times you would want to use the options with the commands. Okay, let's go on to the next command, cd, which we've also pretty much covered. If I want to go back to the root directory, I just do that, because this is the sign or the path for the root directory. So now we're in the root directory. If I do ls all, okay, so if I want to change to, let's do something I haven't done yet. So let's just check quickly. ls list what is in the home directory is root. Maybe not. Let's list what's in the mount directory. there's nothing in there. Okay, so let's try C ls etc GDM3. Let's go back there again. So you don't need to go into etc folder so that you can go into GDM3 as an example folder. You can do this etc, so root directory etc GDM3. There we go. Go back to the root directory, present working directory, root directory, list, and help. Help. There we go. So change the shell working directory, and there you have the options, which I can cover in a more advanced course. Next command, ls, stands for list. It's a command to list computer files in Unix and Unix-like operating systems. So let me show you quickly. ls help. I'm looking for L. I did cover earlier about list A, which can help to display hidden files, but list lowercase l is very useful compared to list, just list. It's very useful to display user permissions, etc. of folders and files. So for example, this folder etc, this is the permissions, which I can cover in a more advanced course. The user that it belongs to, or that has ownership over this folder, and if my understanding is correctly, all the contents within the folder as well belongs to root, and this applies to all the contents within this folder as well. Same for a file, permissions, owner of that file, the dates. Not 100% sure if these are the dates created or date last modified. Let's go back to ls to check that. Help. So for example, this is a good example of if you're stuck with a command or you're looking for a specific option. So we can use this as an example. I'm looking for the information on modified or time created, date and time created. Okay, there we have something.